Oh, that was nice. We like when people mix and mingle and meet each other and the poets talk, and it's great. So we're going to do another round that might be a little shorter because not everybody has a poem, but we actually have another reader who has not read and a couple of readers who have another poem. And I want to read a poem of mine because Desalane is here and because it's a poem that I particularly like called ESL Class, Grammar Lesson. Her thin wrist is poised over the page with painstaking attention to the words, meaning, and sound of the discordant new language practiced with the person in the next seat from another color and country whose skin exudes unfamiliar spices. He used to be a teacher in what used to be Russia. She used to have a farm in Cambodia before she came, carrying only an iron tea kettle. Those two over there, neighbors in the same town of the so-called former Yugoslavia. This is a classroom filled with used-to-bes, a hard concept to teach in English. They need it, though, to explain who they once were. A Somali woman veiled head to shoe asks a question, pronounces used to with 3 syllables instead of 2. As he shifts in his chair to attend, the Buddhist monk forms a fluid arc of saffron. His robes hang out below the frayed wool coat he wears during this hard winter. On his feet, hiking boots, laces open, chafe rough against bare legs. So our next poet did not read before, and her name is Mariah Wilson, and she's a student at St. Louis Park High School, so welcome, Mariah.
So, this poem is called Puppy. From the singing birds to the wolves, to the careless pet owner who did not care enough. Puppy, oh puppy, why are you so sad? Puppy's eyes are all droopy and wet, and all you can see is skin and bones. Puppy, oh puppy, where's your smile, as it have been thrown away? Puppy, oh puppy, what happened to your paw, all torn in age? Puppy, oh puppy, where is your ear? There is none. Puppy, oh puppy, where is your mommy? She lives with the angels. Puppy, oh dear puppy, where is your owner? Ran away from the madhouse of torture. Puppy, oh puppy, why are you shaking? Puppy, why are you lying in the middle of the street? Puppy, why aren't you breathing? Puppy, oh puppy, why are you limp? Where are you? I've gone to the angels and I'm with my mom. This land is where I'll be safe forever from all hatred and cruelty. Thank you for your care. Thank you for your happiness. Because of you, I'm forever at peace.
Last week I was at the Writers' Conference in Minneapolis, and on the way over I stopped somebody to help me with directions because I was walking across town. And I said, I'm going to the Writers' Convention. And he said, the stranger, I'm a poet, too. And he whipped out his iPhone and started to read me poems as we crossed the street. So I think we're going to begin to have our poems on our phones, and then we can share them with everybody. When you think about it, it's a wonderful idea because we don't usually carry our papers around, but we can open our phones and share them. So, Susan, are you ready to read again? Sure. Welcome, Susan.
A couple things about this poem. It's like you read it for someone who's graduating. It's supposed to be inspirational. You're graduating from high school or college. And it is written in the form of a sestina, which repeats. There's 6 words and specific words that are repeated throughout the poem. You might notice it, you might not. I suppose if I used a really strange word like like supercalifragilistic, but you'd recognize that's repeating. But soliloquy of life. Mountains can move, but not your character. You stand as tall as possible to touch the screen of the sky, and even then, with your arm unfolded and your eyes focused, you fizzle out like a damp firecracker in the end. You grovel in the dirt, knees pierced by tiny sharp pebbles. Did your mother raise you like a brewer's mole? Or did she coax and encourage you to zero in on a goal, to watch other winners with character and vim who brandish their swords and decisively pierce their target? You know the answer. It's on a screen in your mind, etched in your heart. You needn't a firecracker under your britches to jumpstart your desire to unfold your destiny. Outfit you with a taut, unfolded pair of wings. Stand tall. I dare you, yes, I dare you. To stand on the mountain's bluff and like a firecracker explode off it. Spread your arms, show your character, and leap off. If you must, and you will, screen out any fears you harbor. Resist them. Pierce them through their hearts as you pierce the screen of the sky. Before you, clouds appear unfolded and wispy, moving like lizards across a movie screen. But you are flying, not crawling, soaring, yes, you. No longer play acting, nor portraying a character from another scene, but piloting your own firecracker of a life, your own dream come true. Shoot firecrackers, Bengals, sizzlers, and a Catherine wheel straight up, piercing the sky with rapturous color, branding your full character with glorious fire. But come down then, into the folded sheets of your mother, into the steady gaze that your father bestows. Lay your wounds and faults on their screen, not to replay them, but to edit and revise so the screen is unblemished. Pack the pain into one last firecracker, light it and watch it pop, confetti floating away. Do you understand what I mean? The sting of childhood pierced you, yes, but now it is gone. You've forgiven, unfolded, your mother's arms wait for you with your new character. Though it haunts you as you replay the screen of your life, let your true character reveal itself, revealed not like a spent firecracker or a pierced balloon, but in secret unfolds your beauty and métier.
Could you trace the words? It's not so obvious, is it? And she said that. You said that. Yeah. Our next reader is bringing Wendy back because she has another poem or two poems to read. Welcome Wendy Skinner back.
Okay, so on the theme of family still, and this is actually a little bit more of a dark prose poem, but as a child, you're visiting your relatives and you learn about your family, about right about here. And then as you grow older, you become a teenager and your relatives start talking to you like an adult. And then you learn a little bit more about your family, a little deeper. And then as you get older and you have your own children and your own families, then you learn more about maybe what people didn't want to talk about, or the family secrets, or you might even learn that you had an aunt that no one ever talked about. And that was the case for me. And so this is a prose poem that talks about this experience, called Dr. Haskins. You imagine you have met your great-grandfather, Dr. Eugene Lawrence Haskins. He sits in a stained sepia photo, his beard trimmed to half an inch, his hair greased gently to the left, his cheek barely meeting that of his new bride, the two of them looking left off in the distance and out of the frame at the rosy glow of possibilities. At the time, however, the newlyweds fixed their eyes upon the tear in the burgundy velvet where the photographer had nailed the backdrop to a dingy plaster wall. You dream about your great-grandfather after the round of storytelling late last night, how he lovingly brushed and braided the manes and tails of Sally and Charlotte, the two mares that pulled his wagon, just as he would plait the locks of his 3 young daughters before grammar school. In your dreams, he has strong hands with tender fingers, comb through your blonde curls, settle upon your temples, and pull back the tresses firmly with equal, comforting pressure so as not to pinch your scalp. You hear that the doctor brought his eldest child, your grandmother, with him from Iowa to Chicago whenever possible in search for a cure for her congenital malady. You like the idea of the belching steam engine and the rhythmic clacking of the 300 miles of rails as the train carries them from LeGrand to Wesley Memorial Hospital and the university's medical school. Your grandmother's spine warps between her shoulders and hips. You've already surpassed her 4 foot 8 inches, and you're only in 4th grade. When you are a young woman and your grandmother is 86 years old, you will comprehend how the doctor failed to cure his daughter, in spite of the trips to the far side of Illinois. Her ribs will complete their morbid twist inward, incarcerating her lungs, and she will suffocate in her dreams. In the meantime, your mother becomes pregnant. You will wonder why your grandmother is stricken with sickening, worrisome anxiety. She cannot be assured enough that your mother's pregnancy is free from bee stings, rusty nails, dog bites, burn barrel smoke, icy steps, rat poison. Your sister will be born as bright as a spring elf, and you will learn that your father once had a little sister too. They called her Marjorie Jean, but she was born listless, sent away to Woodward State Hospital as a toddler, and died at the age of 8 with neither her mother nor her father by her side. Decades later, you will find her tombstone, one among hundreds of 8 by 12-inch identical granite slates in row upon row, like abandoned books in a dusty library. It reads, M. Lindstrom, and nothing more. The attending physician at her birth was the town's only doctor, the mother's father, Dr. Haskins. You will learn that he delivered other babies like Marjorie Jean, who displayed little urge to suckle and wandering eyes, who slept for extraordinate amounts of time, eventually flunking 1st grade, speaking very little, but even then less. Men and women roaming about the town like worn scarecrows with sloping shoulders and slack, expressionless faces. This is Dr. Haskins, the doctor that no one will speak of when you are older, except with regret and bitterness. He is your kind, capable great-grandfather you think you know in the sepia photograph, and who's braided your hair in the imagination of your young mind.
Is there anyone else who wants to read? You have another poem. Mike has another poem, and who else had a hand up? And you have one. Okay. So Mike, you want to go? And then what's your name? Okay, then you can read after. Go ahead.
All right, hello again. this poem is, I was a scuba diver. I was certified in 1980. This is about one of the first dives I took in the Baptism River, which runs into Lake Superior. It's called Waiting for Shivers. A wind rippled the stream. It teased a tributary to descend. It fed the river to nourish a lake. So I waited on a sandbar in my hood and lobster mittens, pinching the smelt as they ran by. I stood with my mask defogged and snorkeling me like a hooked fish. I immersed my head to learn to know the burning of the Baptism River. I'd start waves, swirls of sediments, smelted ecosystems that made me svelte in neoprene. I thrashed and breathed deep. I bubbled somewhere in the rock that felt my toe tapped at my tank, so I know the air of my ways. I was a green diver, not yet a citizen of serenity. And rock forms chased me. They timed my flippant kicks to the abyss they called Gitchigumi. And the riptide swept me and undulated me too soon. I was not ready to be born to a superior lake, but my breath knew. I drifted abruptly and quaked weightless to feel my shivers. Thank you. And this is about an experience with someone here in the audience that came tonight. Manic Concessions. He came close to living along the banks of the Mississippi. He'd have lived in his van sans roaches, eating bread at his meals of cold government cheese in its yellow corners splintering through trees. His dull butter knife smeared in his jam. And then a November chill tousled his neck scruff. With chattered teeth, he'd ask how much to room until his cheese thawed. He invented elusive anecdotes for roaches. We spread the jam in the sink with that dull knife. He offered to ease their pain in ways they might outwit the games he played. We left the dark spaces for hours in which his band could play. We returned to throw on the kitchen lights, and the roaches scattered like lemmings to see our cans ready to spray. He totaled roaches like Vietnam reported dead, and numbered in a sting bomb like cattle, Nam's reports sometimes read. My sofa was stuffed with roaches probably, so we sat all happy as our kills stained the sink with rings. We relaxed after our nightly raid. We ate them ravenously, Swiss cake rolls from a pail of snow like two Kafkaesque kings. Thank you.
I think you said your name was Christy? Yes. So welcome, Christy, because I don't think you've read before. We're going to have you sign. Christine, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Everybody in Minnesota always never gets it right. It's Kristen. Always it's Kristen. And I always know they're Minnesotan if they say Kristen, so it's okay. I thought of, I wasn't sure what time everything started today, so I just thought of today, April 15th, tax day. So I whipped this up real quick. Tax day, phew, didn't start yet. A lot of sweat, a lot of regret. Get the pencils, get the computer on, add up the receipts, use the magic wand, find the wage statements. Got to get it together tonight. It has to make sense. I only wish I'd done this early, then I wouldn't be so surly. I have another one. Stressed out this tax day? Let me tell you my story. One day, I pulled out the mail. I found not one paper with sales, just 5 notices from the IRS. 5 notices from 5 different states, all from the IRS. Oh my, I'll let you guess the rest.
We needed someone to make tax poems, right? I mean, it is April 15th, after all. Our next, Paul, do you want to read? So we have a reader who arrived late, but who would like to read. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you.
Schneck to the podium.
So I'm sorry I was late. So this is an old poem I wrote, and it's a little political. So forgive me if it's not your political bent. And it was kind of about in the Vietnam War era, when there was a draft and when I was of draft age. Jacob Brandt got home early today because the teachers' council was held to decide what new courses would be made so more students could make the grade to fill the colleges and the gas stations too, the med schools, the prisons, and the country club pools. And the teachers sipped coffee and chatted away when Jacob Brandt got home early today. His father's office like a hot prison cell. At the desk sat Jake's father, sweating like hell. Outside, his secretary stroked her nails with a file, cursing the long-lost repairman all the while. In the street outside the building, the air conditioning man lay when Jacob Brandt got home early today. Wearing pale blue overalls, he lay where he was struck, next to his golden air conditioning truck. A veteran of 2 wars, decorated by the general himself, he'd fought twice that he might never fight again. Still, he'd never been wounded till when that car struck him down, and he died then. When Jacob's father was told, since he'd known the man, he swore and muttered, "It happens to the best of them." And he sent for a replacement air conditioning man as Jacob Brandt got home early today. And the postman brought a letter, and Jacob had to pay, forgetting to come home early today. A small 5-cent postage the postman got to pan, so Jake could get a letter from our father, Uncle Sam. "We regret to inform you," the form letter said, "that due to the war you are hereby pronounced dead. You can ship your body to the national grave and give to your family the things you want to save. Report in 5 days. We're only human, you see. You'll have time to say goodbye to your family." And Jacob cried and died right then, and his father muttered, "It happens to the best of them."
And Angela has one more that she wanted to read. Angela Griffin.
I have one which is a rosy scenario of a perfect day in May. Okay, there should be a perfect May evening. The breeze should blow softly through the tennis courts. Elms, oaks, and shades of brown and green will rustle gently. Lilac in shades of mauve and white should line the path. There should be ducks in family regiment crisscrossing the path that winds around the lake. And of course, there should be a lake. There should be a lake with a path that winds round it, a path for fleet-winged dragonflies to dart along the shaded recess. Such a path one could walk in less than an hour all the way round, or bike if no skateboard is in sight. There should be baseball games played by teams, with young and older men and women in t-shirts that match. Frisbee playing children will cheer from the sides of the pitch. Soda pop and beer should wait in home-packed coolers by the cars. Then for the winners and fallen heroes, there should be a band rehearsing Sousa from the high school on the other side of the lake. At some point in the evening, there will be a train, just slightly apart but in the distance, complete with whistle and chugging roar. Toddlers playing in the spring beach sand will dance and shout in excited rebellion and call their mothers to tell them what they see. There should be a joy of community, a window of opportunity when all is well with the world, a moment when cold beer never tasted so good. The breeze will blow with such gentle tenacity that mankind and nature will blend together as if they truly could get along, sharing the same sphere. If you see one such evening in your lifetime, you will be oh so very, very rich. I once found such an evening and have walked twice around the lake just to make sure it was real.
And Joseph is going to do the grand finale. He said, wait, I'm going to be the end.
Now, I don't write poetry. I can't recite poetry. Well, one I did was called, I used to do it to be a wise guy. It was called Lizzie Borden Took an Axe. You know that one? Yeah. Okay, now I'd start, the teacher would say, all right, sit down, Joseph, we know that one. So anyway, I have a couple of short poems I've gotten. It's kind of a homage to you people that sit down and write poems. I am just absolutely in awe of this. So this first one is called The Gift. And it's written by John Chardy, I think his name is. In 1945, when the keepers cried kaput, Joseph Stein, poet, came out of Dachau like a resurrection. Excuse me, like a half a resurrection. His other 80 pounds still in their invisible grave. Slowly, then the mouth opened, and first a broth, then a medication, and then a diet, and all in time, and the knitting mercies, the showing bones were buried back in flesh, and the miracle was finished. Joseph Stein, man, poet, rose, walked, and could even beget, and he did, and died later of other causes only partly traceable to his first death. He noted with some surprise at first that strangers could not tell that he had died once. He returned to his post at the library, drank his beer, published 3 poems in a French magazine, and was very kind to the son who was at last his. In the span of one night, he wrote 3 propositions: that hell is the denial of the ordinary, that nothing lasts, that clean white paper waiting under a pen is the gift beyond history, hurt, and heaven. And this one, I just caught it, I just love it. It's called September's Almost Gone. And this is, I should give it a name. Michael Creasel was on that one, and John Chardy, yeah, the other one. Who's heard of Michael Creasel? I have not, and you'll get the poem. I'm having a beer on the porch reading a poetry magazine. Maybe 1,000 people ever see these poems. Sometimes I think we're singing to ourselves like children when they play alone. But sometimes we connect like leaves spreading watercolors through the trees.
Well, for those of you who have been sitting alone, you got an audience tonight. And that's what this is really all about, is trying to connect people who write with people who want to hear poetry. So thank you very much. That was perfect. Thank you all for coming, for reading, for being here and listening, for supporting and encouraging. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.